1, 2, 3 practice. The 1, 2, 3 practice. And the 1, 2, 3 practice, as you know, is this exploration into changing states of consciousness. And we say that basically throughout our day we probably go through multiple levels of consciousness, all the way from 0.01 or numbness to being fully awake and unified and integrated and interconnected into the world. This practice is a way to look at the possibility of being in choice, of what level of consciousness we want to move into. Practice is really designed for us being our own lab. So we don't really start off by saying a 1 is this, or a 2 is this, or a 3 you should feel this. We can kind of give a general layout of them, okay? If somebody is less embodied, there really is more chance of people making up ideas about it. And as you know, what we're looking at is how do we live through, how do we allow that to live through us? So we really experience like, oh, my feeling state is a lived, felt experience. Distinct from, if I'm in my feeling state, I'm supposed to act this way. Or if I'm in my feeling state, the ethic is this, or vice versa. Okay? So we say, we just distinguish 1, 2, 3. We could call it blue, green, yellow. We could call it A, B, C. But really to make it just pretty flat engineering. And let's call our 1 our thinking self. And our thinking self we would call a high 1 and a low 1. And a high 1 would be that part that we need to analyze something. We need to remember something. We're going to do scheduling, and we're going to put that into our calendar. We're exchanging money or something like that. You know? Analysis, logic, rationality. The low 1 would be the place where we're not present. We're off into the future. We're caught by the past. We just fall into a unconscious state. So what I want us to do is to be in your 1 right now. What would that be to be in your 1? It's your thinking self, you're thinking about. And from your 1 state, do some 2 steps. 1 has less commitment, less care. And we'll come back. Tell me about how do you experience your 1? What tells you that you're in your 1? Not in the room. The room disappears.
Holding my breath.
Hold the breath.
No extension. Off balance. I can hear my voice in my head.
What?
All I can hear is my voice in my head.
Yes.
Okay, like a parrot.
Can't come out of that. Oh, sorry.
I'm confused about why you would say there's less commitment in the 1.
That's my experience. My 1 doesn't really have a focus or intent or a ruddering around. It doesn't have any movement. It's moving in a drift. How are the other people in the room? when you're in your 1?
Invisible.
Yeah. What?
In a way.
In the way, yeah. I'm a little irritated with you.
A little object.
There's also just something kind of comforting about being there. It's like I didn't have to worry about the rest of the world, and just relaxing in a way. That that makes me think about the value of
definitely read a novel like that or watch a movie. And we're going to really look at these as non-prejudicial as possible.
Yeah.
Right? There's also a place of reading the novel in which it's a felt experience. It's a deeply felt experience. Yeah. All the light we cannot see. Fiction readers,
I just,
unbelievable, unbelievable. All the light we cannot see. And if you read that in your feeling state, you will get a deep, deep. I'm a little stunned right now. You'll get a deep feeling about the horrors of war. I mean, a felt experience. So yes, you can do that, and that's fine. I want to go to a movie because I'm anonymous, and I don't have to think about anything. Let that thing wash over me. Yeah.
so I'm still in this commitment in the one thing. I feel like I have a whole other commitment in my high one, and unfortunately, even more in my low one.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll keep exploring. All right, so let's stand. Now, very close at hand, there's another dimension, and they live parallel. And let's just call that other dimension the two. And generally speaking, so we have a little bit of a key into it to turn the key. Let's say that it's a feeling state. It's not the thinking state, it's the feeling state. High two is where my senses are open. I'm engaging my nervous system. I'm calling on, really how Thomas said it so elegantly that, this other resource. Yeah, doesn't mean I'm not thinking analytically or any of that, but I'm just engaged in the world in a more total way. Low one might be, I just get flooded by feeling. Low one might be, something like that happens in an emotion. I have no capacity to contain it. I'm crying, I'm in a rage, I'm in a grief, I'm in an ecstasy or something. Where you're just being washed over constantly. So let's say that this other dimension, and use your metaphor, is it a switch you flip? Is it a knob you turn? Is it a door that you step in? How do you access your two? So let's step back into our two. We give it a moment. And we make sure that it's not the one describing the two. The two, each dimension has its own center, its own ground, its own extension. A couple of you in a word or two, what do you get from your two? Either yourself, with others, the environment. Pleasure. Somebody.
Expanded heart.
Connection.
Two.
Floating away.
So we get used to the passage, step back into your one. The one that's in your head. The one that's not connected here. And you're with your client and you go, the high one, let me take my intake. Anything I need to know about their body. You make the schedule, get that clear. They begin to speak. I can also step back into my two and feel them. You're two-step from the two. informs you that you're in year two? How do you move into year two? What's it telling you?
And I noticed is that when I moved into the two, I had an impulse that I had to generate the two.
Mm.
And that feels very, I know that about myself
Mhm.
versus letting myself belong, rest into or be invited into the two-ness.
Mhm. Would you say that would be the one going?
When I first thought about the rhythm of it, I would just like the awakening. I have to bring the two to the party. You know, that part of me.
Yes.
And then I think it was probably someone in that, and then I had to open my back and wide, and then I had to search for the two-ness that I'm a part of, naturally.
So in this particular map, what Jennifer is reminding us of is that we hold that there's already a two. There's already three. There's already our interconnectedness. And because of all the different social conditionings that we're in, we get taken from those things. And so what is it that we can go, let me fall into the two, be fallen by something, or open to something. Would you get your two?
It's fluid, and then what was also clear is that I began to have an awareness of the people close by. It's like, will we connect? Will we not connect? You know, and to have an ability to connect to them in a different way. It's cool.
I learned that my fears are from the one. I learned my fears are in the two.
For me, it feels like continuation of that commitment exercise. Now, healing my, not call it a nice word, what is this? Bottom of my, but
When you say, what is the word?
minun takapuoleni. Is preventing to be here. I have had I have had actually a lot of problems here. Muscle names, the uniforms and such. And now I actually feel so strongly that this is preventing.
Stacy, we get your two.
It's interesting we're talking about fear. I think I have, it's really visceral from fear coming to two. Which takes me to one,
Yeah,
which brings me back to,
yeah.
it's the cycle.
So I'm saying, I'm being enthusiastic because that we see those things. That we see those things, and that's one of the things that gives us choice, huh? Oh yeah, that's what we do. Let's be curious about that. I roll in two. Basically, when I come to, I go, oh, I can relax here. Call on my heart, more of my heart to make choice too. Anybody?
I feel, so I like Jennifer, I share that, like, it takes me a minute to not cognitively be like, oh, what do I feel? Oh, I feel my toes. Oh, that's good, I'm feeling something. But I find also too, I have more joy and a greater appreciation for people around me. Like as I listen, I actually find myself wanting to smile, whether that's an appropriate response or not, because I'm just appreciating this person as who they are in that moment.
Where, for me, that the two container can be different sizes, and that it can only be really big for a while, and then I have to shrink it a little bit, and depending up here, it's like a CNN
think of that would be that you're building a container to feel more. So the moment you're out here and you go, oh, I gotta do this, it's like, let me have 30 more seconds. Build that muscle to be there. And then come in.
For me to get to two, I open my heart maybe from the one, and then I can feel all my pores open to the room.
Mm.
And I felt such loss when you and stepped away to do this two-step out of the circle. So I was aware.
Oh, yeah. Makes you real sensitive. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Makes sense. In context, you're coaching. When's it good to be in your one? When's it good to be in your two? So let's be in our two right now. You're moving from the thinking self to the feeling self. And there's more. Yeah, there's always more. And we'll call it a three. And we'll say it's close at hand. You step into that room, turn that switch, that dial. You open some part of your body for it. And let's step back into our three. Again, it's not the two describing the three, or the one describing the three. Some of you in a word or two.
Wow.
Big.
Respon-
When you're connected.
kind of sense of responsibility in my heart.
And step into your two. What else about a three? Julie, how is that for you, your three?
It's kind of like all-knowing.
So there's the fear is not in the three.
Three makes it easier to feel my two.
Mm.
I mean, the container's just bigger, it's big.
Mhm. I had a really unusual experience, unusual for me in my three, which has a deep longing for it, and I'm ready to go into it, and I had a struggle in three today, and feeling the struggle, and then I looked into it, and it was that the particular changes that are going on in my life right now, I go, I might have to be in a high one or a good two to deal with those changes, so I can't, it was kind of a not trusting in the three. That was like the first quarter, I then went, okay, and I'll just let those changes be part of my field now. But it was a tension between, I don't want to make sure I forget crossing any T's or dotting any I's.
Question about, I'm not sure I can ask it right, boundaries in these different states. My experience is that sometimes I get really jangled when I experience jangly energy, or darkness, or sometimes beings latch onto me.
Yes.
And how to be in these three different states, but in ways that can filter what comes in and what I can, where I want to choose to experience them. I think sometimes they come in too close to me, and I get.
People have worked with that a number of different ways. One is that they hold the image of like a screen, or like it could be like chicken wire, and so whatever's coming in, you're porous enough it'll just move through you. It'll just move through you in that way. Other people in that teaching will hold it like, no, I'll have a wall or a moat, and that is fluid and flexible. It can move in and out, but I'll keep it out there.
So I historically haven't known whether or not I can access three. There are times when, so I found myself on this edge, like going to the one and I don't know, and then at times feeling, oh, there's this dissolved sense and there's a greater something, and then the one comes. So it's this in and out, this edge the whole time.
I found timelessness in 3, freshness in 2. So actually breathing or smelling put me back into 2, some kind of sensate thing.
Nice. Kathy, about you?
Today I felt safer with three.
Safer in 3.
Two felt really dangerous, isn't it?
Mm.
And really flooding, but then it's back again now, but I think it's coming from here. But when I came back into 3, it came back into 2 from 3, it was calmer.
Mm. We might think thinking, feeling, sensing. We might think I, we, all. We might think personality. We might think soma. We might think spiritual body. Most important here is that we look at sincerely, can we choose a state of consciousness? Can we let our heart be open in the midst of the travails? Can we do that? Or can we say, no, now's not the time for my heart to be open. It's like I need a boundary. So that we choose that state of consciousness that isn't just an idea. I'm not just following a rule or a protocol or a commandment. And those things are good. You can build a certain ethical way of being. More so that it's something that's felt. So that ethic or that commandment still may be there, but it's felt and lived through you. And then when we're with clients, we're going, let me just be with them we're in silence. Let me just be with them in the 3. Or this is a time there's some things I need to remember here, what they're saying. And I know that my high one is the best place for that.
I have a lot of trepidation in my 3. Like even when we were getting ready, I was like, oh shit, here we go. And so it's, and I'll say, we talked last time about meditation as an opportunity to explore 3 space. And so I've done that. I always find myself relieved when I come back. Like when I'm in that, I'm like, wow, this is a lot. My breathing is different. Like it feels a little constricted, and I come back and I'm relieved when I'm in a 2. I almost drop down. And so my question, I guess, in there is, I guess what's the work around that to then say, oh, the client, I'll go into the free space here when I'm like, oh, I don't really want to go. Like I get that like, oh shit moment of like, oh, here we go. And so I don't know that, I guess what's the work around that? Is it just to continue to explore and be in that space?
Yeah, that's right, you become familiar with it,
Mm-hmm.
even before you go there, you become familiar with it. Yeah. And being familiar with it, as you know, where we start is with, what is prohibiting you there? What is terrorizing you? What is ambushing you there?
Well, I have something similar to that. So I know what it feels like to be in trade and meditate, and also like walking in nature, you get there after a certain while. I get there after a certain while. But the idea of I can just step back into it kind of blocks me. Like it's almost like I need to work for that. You know what I mean? Like I need to meditate for 20 minutes for that, or I need to walk in nature for 30 minutes for that. It's not boom, it's there kind of thing. So I spent the first kind of 5 minutes going, okay, well it's not just there. Right? There's a whole so with a client, I think the idea of being able to just go there is not accessible to me yet. So in a similar way to Brian's question, like, well then, even with all the practices, how does it become more accessible?
Yes. Who's making up these rules?
Me.
What part of you? Part that what? And we can leave it as that could be a question too. I understand what you're saying, for sure.
Wondering about combining free space practice and working with a client on their declaration. Like, what might it be like to have someone be in one, work for each of those spaces as they think about or say their declaration? How would one inform the other one?
You mean you introduce those distinctions to your client? First of all, let me just say that what we really want to do is we develop that in ourselves. And what we've seen over time is that people who aren't embodied, they become more ideas. So you have to really cultivate this garden. So when that comes, they can tour, they can navigate through all that. And when that happens, that's a possibility. I worked with a team for about 6 years, a very large company, pharmaceutical company, and then we would get into speculative conversations, and they really took on the work. 6 years, and they stayed together, and when they had conversations about brainstorming or speculation, we would say, let's all go into our 3 again. And they knew how to get there, and that takes some time, I think. Generally speaking. Okay, as we say, so far so weird. We change states of consciousness consciously. Consistently throughout the day. Can we author that? Yeah. The old traditions say you do practices. Yes, you can author that. And then there's grace. And then there's always grace. But you can author that, and this is a way to go, is this a solid practice as a coach to begin to author, like, oh, I'm going to listen to the intake now. Are they on medication? Are there parts of the body I have to pay attention to? Are they self-medicating, right? Are they in the middle of a huge change, employment change, relationship change that would affect these things? Then there may be a place to